I'll do my best. Jaya Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Pira Balachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jalaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jalaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Namaskritya
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Devim Saraswatam Vyas
Tato Jayam Udiraye.
Tato Jayam Udiraye.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, this is Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 12. Yanam yad apratinivrita gunarmi chakram.
Dhyanam yadakriti vritta gunurni chakra.
Jnanam yad apratinivrita gunormi chakram.
Dhyanam yadakriti vritta gunurni chakra.
Atma prasada utayatra guneshva sangha.
Atma prasada udayatra guneshva sangha.
Kaivalya sammata patastvata bhakti yoga.
Kaivalya sammata padastvadatampi yoga.
Ko nirvrito harikata suratim na kuryat.
Ko nirvrito harikata suratim na kuryat.
Jnanam yad apratinivriti gunormi chakram.
Yadakrati vritta gunami chakram.
Atma prasada utayatra guneshva sangha.
Atma prasada udayatra gunesha sangha.
Kaivalya sammata patastvata bhakti yoga.
Kaivalya sammata patasva bhakti yoga.
Ko nirvrito harikata suratim na kuryat.
Ko nirvrito harikata suratim na kuryat.
Jnanam
Jnanam ya apratinivrita gunormi chakram.
Atma prasada
Atma prasada utayatra guneshva sangha.
Kaivalya Bhakti
Kaivalya sammata patasva
Vata bhakti yoga. Ko nirvrito harikata suratim na kuryat. Yadam yada pratinivritta gunormi chakram.
Atma prasada utayatra guneshva sangha.
Atma prasada udayatra gunesha sangha.
Kaivalya sammata patasvata bhakti yoga.
Kaivalya sammata patasvata bhakti yoga. Ko nirvrito harikata suratim na kuryat. Jnanam, knowledge. Yat, that which. Up to the limit of. Pratinivritta, completely withdrawn. Guna urmi, the waves of the material modes. Chakram, whirlpool. Atma prasada, self-satisfaction. Uta, moreover. Yatra, where there is. Guneshu, in the modes of nature. Asanga, no attachment. Kaivalya, transcendental. Sammata, approved. Ata, path. To, but. Ata, therefore. Bhakti yoga, devotional service. Ka, who. Nirvritta, absorbed in. Harikatasu, in the transcendental topics of the Lord. Ratin, attraction. Na, shall not. Kuryat, do. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Transcendental knowledge in relation with the Supreme Lord Hari is knowledge resulting in the complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the material modes. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to its being free from material attachment, and being transcendental, it is approved by authorities. Who could fail to be attracted? The answer, everyone. Purport. According to Bhagavad Gita 10.9, the characteristics of pure devotees are wonderful. Complete functional activities of a pure devotee are always engaged in the service of the Lord. And thus the pure devotees exchange feelings of ecstasy between themselves and relish transcendental bliss. This transcendental bliss is experienced even in the stage of devotional practice, sadhana avashta, if properly undertaken under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. And in the mature stage, the developed transcendental feeling culminates in realization of the particular relationship with the Lord by which a living entity is originally constituted, up to the relationship of conjugal love with the Lord, which is estimated to be the highest transcendental bliss. Thus, Bhakti Yoga, being the only means of God realization, is called Kaivalya. Sri Jiva Goswami quotes the Vedic version, Eko Narayana Deva Paravaranam Parama Ashte Kaivalya Samgita, in this connection, and establishes that Narayan, the personality of Godhead, is known as Kaivalya, and the means which enables one to approach the Lord is called the Kaivalya Pantha, or the only means of attainment of Godhead. This Kaivalya Pantha begins from Shravana, or hearing those topics that relate to the personality of Godhead, and the natural consequence of hearing such Harikatha is attainment of transcendental knowledge, which causes detachment from all mundane topics, for which a devotee has no taste at all. For a devotee, all mundane activities, social and political, become unattractive. And in the mature stage, such a devotee becomes uninterested even in his own body, and what to speak of bodily relatives. In such a state of affairs, one is not agitated by the waves of the material modes. There are different modes of material nature, and all mundane functions in which a common man is very much interested or in which he takes part become unattractive for the devotee. This state of affairs is described herein as pratinivritta gunormi, and it is possible by atma prasada, or complete self-satisfaction without any material connection. First-class devotee of the Lord attains this stage by devotional service, but despite his loftiness for the Lord's satisfaction, he may play the voluntary part of a preacher of the Lord's glory and dovetail all into devotional service, even mundane interest, just to give the neophytes a chance to transform mundane interest into transcendental bliss. Srila Rupa Goswami has described this action of a pure devotee as Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. Even mundane activities dovetailed with service to the Lord are also calculated to be transcendental or approved Kaivalya affairs. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Paramananda Madhavam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's so many points that stand out in the verse and the purport. First point that kind of stood out for me was this description of transcendental knowledge and transcendental practice. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to its being free from material attachment. And being transcendental, it is approved by authorities. Who could fail to be attracted? Sometimes in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, we come and we're experiencing such so much happiness, so much relief from the old way of life, the troublesome material way of life, which is just a hard struggle for existence in a state of confusion. A state of confusion. No one is clear what is the goal of life. So everyone is going through their daily activities without any clarity. Am I actually proceeding towards the proper destination? Who here has been on a road or on a highway and then you suddenly think, am I going the right way? Because in those days we didn't have GPS, so you're going and then you have this angst, this anxiety. Am I going the right way? Because energy is being expended. We're moving in a certain direction, but if there's not clarity that we're moving towards the destination, it can be very frustrating. Remember on Sankirtan, Highway 173 or whatever, driving, and then said 173 west. We're supposed to be going 173 east. A great frustration. So everyone is endeavoring in different ways, but without any clear understanding of life, but struggling very hard. And then when a person actually comes to understand spiritual life, when the light bulb goes off above one's head and I get it, I understand, and adopts the practices, so much relief is there, so much satisfaction. And especially in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, one is flooded with spiritual realization, spiritual bliss, spiritual happiness. If you look at the devotees, all of us have different varying levels of experience of this. My guru says it's like a special introductory offer. You have people who've been around for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and the brand new bhakta comes in the temple room and he's standing in front of the deities and the Govindam prayers go, the curtains open, and tears start pouring out of his eyes. His heart is melting. He's experiencing some spiritual bliss. My guru called it special introductory offer. Like that. So a person is, wow, I finally found the truth, the purpose of life, the key to happiness. And then one goes out and expects that other people will also have some appreciation, and we're surprised that, what are we talking about? No appreciation at all. With great enthusiasm, one wants to share this beautiful gift. And then you realize that very few people are interested. Very few people have any appreciation of what that great gift is. Manusyanam sahasreshu. Kaschin me Manusyanam sahasreshu. Kaschin me priyakritta. Yatatamati siddhanam. Kaschin man veti tattvataha. Yes, out of many thousands among men. You can even say out of many millions. That's a fair. Out of millions of people, someone is interested in pursuing transcendental understanding. So the question is asked, who could fail to be attracted? The answer is most people. Most people are not attracted. That's the curse of material existence, to be attracted to something which is guaranteed to lead to frustration. Guaranteed. Krishna says it in the Bhagavad Gita. He says categorically, you go to the topmost planet in the universe, down to the bottom, you won't find satisfaction for the soul. But because the material world is the realm of Maya, illusion, the mirage is there and is always beckoning the soul. Yes, just a little further. You're almost there. There's happiness. You just are not doing it right. You need to go adjust something in your life, and then you'll be satisfied. Yesterday we were reading about the will o' the wisp. It was there in the purport. Does anyone know what the will o' the wisp is? Will o' the wisp. It's this light which sometimes appears above a swamp or a marsh, and it looks like something very attractive. And so people are drawn. Well, that must be a place where there's something of substance. So people are drawn there, and then they end up lost in the swamp with the alligators and snakes and horrible conditions. So the material world is like that, will o' the wisp. But the path of devotional service is a different path. It's a path which, even in the very beginning, one experiences spiritual happiness just by the connection with Krishna. And especially through the formula which was given by Srila Prabhupada. In the beginning, as Vijay Prabhu was explaining yesterday, the devotees' program is that they used to go out on Harinam. That was it. They'd go on Harinam. There was no Mangalarti. And sometimes, you know how long they used to sometimes stay out on Harinam till? That's not Vijay Prabhu. Vijay Prabhu knows the answer. Can anyone guess? What time do you think they used to sometimes stay on Harinam until? Midnight. Anyone else? Close.
10 p.m.
Even 2 a.m. because there was people on the street, especially on the weekends. So they'd go out in Los Angeles, they'd go out twice a day, sometimes 12 hours in a day. And they were experiencing transcendental bliss, ecstasy, the ecstasy which is normally reserved for advanced yogis, was being experienced by absolute beginners, someone who just came out of material life. The worst types of habits. Because what's the normal procedure? The normal procedure is that you start as a proper karmi. That's the normal procedure. Yeah? Not a vikarmi. Vikarmi means all sinful activities against dharma. Okay, regulate your activities. You engage in karma, regulating your activities, worshiping demigods, fulfilling your desires within particular boundaries. That's how things normally start. Karma, right? And then from there, you start gradually progressing. Karma yoga, where you start offering some of the fruits of your work for a higher purpose, for the supreme. Jnana yoga, that's the next stage. Ashtanga yoga, where you could become a yogi and realize God within the heart. And then the path of bhakti. This is the gradual progression. There's no mention typically in the Vedas of this person is eating cow flesh, engaged in intoxication, running around looking for sex, and now you go from there to the path of bhakti, and you engage in devotional service. Normally, devotional service is the culmination of the path after a long, long period of purification. What's the verse in the end of the 7th chapter, which is describing the person who becomes fixed in devotional service? Yeshan? Yeshan tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam tedvan vaboha nirmukta bhajante mam grida vrata. He becomes fixed in devotion. Who? The person who is absolved of all their sinful reactions, purified soul, free from the dualities of material existence. That person becomes fixed in devotional service. But Prabhupada has given a process because he's a representative of Gaur Nitai. He's given a process which can take someone from the lowest position and situate them in the highest position without any need to go through all of the preliminary processes. And what's that process? You can say the process is to chant Hare Krishna. The process is to follow the standard practices. But Prabhupada has added that extra element, which of course, as a representative of Lord Chaitanya, this is Lord Chaitanya's process. Lord Chaitanya has given an order to all living entities. What was the order? He's the gardener, and he's given the order that I order all living entities to assist me in distributing these fruits of love of Godhead. And by the distribution of those fruits of love of Godhead, one is elevated to a state of realization, to a state of spiritual connection, which is normally experienced by advanced souls. So even a beginner can experience advanced realizations and spiritual happiness, which is substantial. And as one continues the process, then gradually one comes to a deeper and deeper understanding of one's identity, one's relationship with Krishna. This happens in the advanced stages of bhakti. Bhakti begins from the point of Shraddha, that some appreciation is there. Oh, there's something here. I like what this is. And then based on that, Adao Shraddha, what happens next? But the sadhu sangha, you associate with devotees. And association with devotees opens up everything. It opens up the spiritual understanding. What remained theoretical suddenly becomes tangible. One comes to understand, especially if one hears from advanced devotees. Then their realization is passed on to whoever's hearing from them, depending on the receptivity of the hearer. If the hearer is very receptive, is submissive, has a service attitude, has the strong desire to progress, then it's a ripe field for those seeds to be planted and for those seeds to grow and to blossom and to bear fruit. Hearing from pure devotees, sadhu sangha, and then one takes up the path seriously with a commitment. And then the long stage of anartha nivritti. Here Prabhupada is saying that the devotee is no longer attracted to any mundane topics. Yes, no longer attracted, but that's quite an advanced stage, to be fixed to the point where there's no attraction. Until that time, what do we have to do? Well, we have to practice strict sadhana bhakti, and then we have a fighting chance. Because the mind is always inclined, always pulling towards some type of material enjoyment, some type of material gratification. Prabhupada was joking. He was speaking to Shruti Kirti Prabhu, who was his servant at the time. And Prabhupada was chanting on the beads, and then he finished, pulled down the last bead, something like that, put his bead bag on the table, said, I've finished my 16 rounds, now I can do any damn thing I like. And what was he doing? He was describing the mentality of someone who's not spiritually advanced. I've conducted my spiritual activities, I've ticked all the boxes, chanted my rounds, I've attended the morning program, I've done my seva for the day, and now the mind thinks, okay, enough. Now let me get some relief. Let me enjoy a little bit. So that's the time when one has to have some level of self-discipline, which is difficult. Just like the description was given, someone gets onto a plane, right? Even a devotee who's well situated, and the temptation is there. I've chanted my rounds, I read for 2 hours on the plane. It's a 9-hour flight, and then this screen is in front of me. And the temptation is there to go off and do something, watch some movie. And when won't that happen? When will you never think of watching a movie? If you're very spiritually advanced, or what other circumstance will you never think of watching that movie? You want to sleep? That's okay. But barring sleep, what's the circumstance in which you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to watch a movie? I won't even think about it. Who's sitting next to you? If a devotee is sitting next to you, you won't do it. He's thinking the same thing, you know? I would watch the movie, but I'm sitting next to Prabhu. I'm sitting next to Prabhu, I won't watch a movie. Not the thought won't even come to mind. Yes, Prabhu.
Also, if you preach to someone,
That's awesome. Yes, they ask you some questions. And then suddenly that long flight, that 11-hour flight suddenly feels like a 2-hour flight because the person is inquiring and you're sharing Krishna consciousness and there's nothing more enlivening. So this is the power of proper association. Real association means to associate with those who are strictly interested in Krishna Katha, in churning Krishna Katha. And their association lifts us up. It protects us. It keeps us out of, it protects us from our own self. In the material world, everyone is pointing the finger, imagining there's so many enemies. This person is my enemy. That person is my enemy. I'm the victim of this person. I'm the victim of that person. Prabhupada said the devotee is his own worst enemy. Prahlad Maharaj says the same thing. I don't see friends and enemies in this world. The only enemies are the 6 senses, 5 senses of the mind. They're the only enemies which need to be conquered, controlled. Aside from that, I don't see any enemies. Even those who are my supposed enemies, they're actually sent by Krishna to help me. Yes, they're sent by Krishna, handpicked to break our attachment for the material world. Without those people, it's very tough to become detached from the material world. But Krishna sends people in our path who give us anxiety, who give us pain, who cause us distress. And how does a devotee process that? We process it, Tattenu Kampam. Thank you, Krishna. You sent this circumstance, this person in my path to help me achieve what I can't achieve on my own. I won't achieve it on my own. I'll remain attached to the material world as long as the material world is smooth sailing, as long as the material world is a pleasing place, as long as I have the hope for enjoyment. I'll remain attached to the material world. So Krishna says, I have to respond to this devotee's prayers, sending circumstances into this devotee's life to help the devotee become detached. Those circumstances can be very painful. They can burn the heart, burn the mind. We want to escape from them. But those circumstances are, as painful as they are, they're very good for achieving detachment, for achieving sobriety, because it's the material world by its nature is an intoxicating place. It's an intoxicating place. The problem is also bringing out the point that the advanced devotee enjoys life because they're in connection with Krishna. They're in realization of their relationship with Krishna. And they're relishing the highest happiness just by being in their relationship with Krishna. And they can sit anywhere, under any circumstances, with no external facility and be totally satisfied. The conditioned soul is always in a state of lacking, in a state of scarcity, feeling, oh, I need something. What do I need now? I need an ice cream. I need to go to a movie. I need a new relationship. I need a new car. I need to go to a different country. I need. It never stops. There's no end to it. But an advanced devotee is Atmarama, self-satisfied, not self-satisfied, satisfied in their relationship with Krishna. They're relishing the highest happiness in their relationship with Krishna. But just for the sake of the conditioned souls, that devotee comes to the middle platform, Madhyama platform, just to benefit others and say, look, here's how you live in this world and don't become entangled. Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's Nitya Siddha. He's an eternal associate of Krishna in the spiritual world. And he reveals that at certain times in his songs. And his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, also revealed it. There was one. But what did he do? He didn't just come and sit down and chant bhajan oblivious to the world with no concern. No, he showed, here's how you live in the world. He had, 11 children. He was a high court judge living in the world in the midst of all these responsibilities, but showing how to live a devotional life. Prabhupada the same thing. So they teach the process of how to live in the world and engage with the world, engage the energy of Krishna and Krishna service. And in this way, they're showing the people of the world, no, you can also do it. It's not that because you're in this circumstance or that circumstance, oh, you're married, there's no possibility of being a sadhu. There's no such statement like that in the Shastra. Oh, you're married, there's no possibility of being a sadhu. No, anyone can be a sadhu from any position. Arjuna was royalty. He was living in huge palaces, married, children, tons of wealth, tons of the most respected position. But Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to him. Showed that, yes, under any circumstances, even under the conditions which are normally causes for entanglement, by this practice of bhakti yoga, one can be like the lotus flower, situated, growing out of the mud, in the water, but untouched. By absorption in Krishna consciousness, by absorption in spiritual sound, and even more so by absorption in the attitude of doing good to others. This is like the ultimate relief from the material energy. Chanting japa, that's a great struggle with the mind. Trying to chant japa, trying to keep the mind focused on the holy name. It's a great struggle. It's a lot of hard work. But if one goes out and tries to share Krishna consciousness with others, then automatically, not automatically, but very frequently, Krishna's glance will fall upon that person, and suddenly one is in a state of consciousness where one does feel like a lotus flower. In the mud of the material world, untouched by the mud or the water, feeling transcendental, feeling in the highest possible state of consciousness by that activity of trying to do good for others. So this is the process that has been given by Srila Prabhupada, Mahaprabhu through Srila Prabhupada, and it's the most effective process for going from being a totally conditioned soul to going to the state of spiritual perfection. That process, which normally takes a long time, this is the shortcut method. Sometimes people propose a different shortcut method. Someone comes and says, you just need to be connected to a rasik bhakta, a pure devotee. And then that pure devotee will infuse you with spiritual realization. And you can read these esoteric books. And by reading the esoteric books, you're going to have access. But that's not the process. Now, Krishna's looking, and he's seeing that here on one hand is a devotee who's engaged in sadhana bhakti and is sacrificing in order to bring other souls to my lotus feet. Yes? And here's a devotee who's engaged in sadhana bhakti, and they're turning their back on the conditioned souls. They're absorbed in their own bhajan. So, what's the mystery? Where's Krishna going to place his glance more readily? More readily, especially for those who are not very advanced, Krishna is going to be very pleased with the person who's sacrificing for elevating others. So this is actually the process of going from being a conditioned soul. This is the fast track to realizing our relationship with Krishna, because this activity, this mood of trying to do good for others is so pleasing to Krishna. So thank you very much for your kind attention. And sorry for my lack of preparation. Any questions or reflections? Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, I have a question, Guru. You're talking about the data components using which we will see Krishna's mercy in our life. But oftentimes, it might take a long time before we realize what happened to me back then was actually Krishna's mercy. So how do we kind of decrease these times where we realize immediately as it happens that this is Krishna?
Everything happens by the process of hearing. If we're hearing on a regular basis, then Krishna arranges that we're hearing things which are relevant to our life. And we all have experience of that. We're all going through something in life, some challenge, some circumstance, and then we just tune into a class, so-called random class, right? And the person who's giving the class, the teacher, the guru, the sadhu, is speaking exactly about the thing we need to be hearing at that moment. He's talking about, he's giving us the perfect advice. So through the process of hearing, our intelligence remains clear, and the things that we need to be in the forefront of our mind are in the forefront of our mind. And then that gap becomes much less. Typically what happens is there's some circumstance which can be very, very challenging, very trying. And the natural thing is that some emotional reaction comes about, right? And there's a exact relationship between the more your emotions are involved, especially very strong, stirring emotions, anger, frustration, those kind of emotions, to the degree that those are surfacing, to that degree, our ability to analyze things in a reasonable, balanced, rational way decreases, yes? So that's the tendency, is when we go through very trying circumstances, then a lot of very strong emotions can surface. But if we're hearing on a regular basis, then our intelligence kicks in and it keeps telling, yes, but this is Krishna's gift to you. It's Krishna's mercy. It's Krishna's reciprocation to help you get out of the material world. And then we're able to utilize that spiritual understanding to work on checking those emotions and putting the whole thing in perspective. So if we have strong sadhana, we have spiritual strength. And if we're hearing on a regular basis, we have clear spiritual intelligence. And the combination of those two things is essential. Otherwise, we might be hearing on a regular basis. Yes, I'm hearing the philosophy, right? But if I'm waking up late and my spiritual practice is not strong, then the circumstance comes in front of me. And I read today about the importance of tolerance. I read today about, don't be angry with the instrument of your karma, right? I read today, I don't care. I read all those things today, but I don't care because right now I'm angry. Why? Because I'm spiritually weak. Whereas when we're spiritually nourished, that's when we're at our best. Just like when we're in spirit, in good consciousness. You go on Sankirtan and you're in spiritual bliss, and some guy passes by and he's rude to us. How much does it affect us? Not so much. Not so much, because we're blissed out. We're in ecstasy. And it's like they said, water off the back of a duck. No big deal, right? Whereas if we're in lower consciousness, then some guy makes a comment and immediately the false ego is stirred up. And then we're going to want to retaliate, or we're going to want to respond, or we're going to have bad feelings towards that person. So the combination of strong spiritual practice, which brings out our highest nature and gives us a platform of experiencing higher consciousness, and to be always in touch with spiritual knowledge, so we have a clear perspective under all circumstances of life. And then the gap is closed more and more. Is that okay? Anything to add to that, Prabhu? Anyone else? Okay, thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.
Of course, they told us we will do this tomorrow. Sometime. 2 weeks. Big walk. It's at least probably 10:30.
It's at least probably 10:30.
What do you do at 10:30?